Welcome to Grimm English Channel. Today we will listen to the story The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean by the brothers Grimm. This charming tale brings together three unlikely friends, a straw, a coal, and a bean, each escaping from a close call with danger. With newfound friendship, they set off on a journey, discovering humor, challenges, and kindness in unexpected places. Will they reach their destination safely? This will be an adapted version, with familiar and simple English language so that we can easily listen and feel the story together. At the end of each chapter, we will learn and study some interesting vocabulary in the story. And right now, we will listen and learn English together through the story The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean. Chapter 1. An Unlikely Friendship. In a small village, there lived a poor old woman who had gathered a small bowl of beans for her dinner. She wanted to cook them quickly, so she started a fire on her hearth using a handful of dry straw. As the fire began to burn brightly, she poured the beans into a pan. In her haste, one of the beans slipped from the bowl and fell onto the ground. It rolled a little until it stopped beside a straw that had fallen from the fire. At the same time, a burning coal leaped from the flames and landed right next to the bean and the straw. Amazingly, none of them were hurt, even though they were so close to danger. The straw was the first to speak. "Hello there," it said cheerfully. "How did you end up here?" The coal, still glowing hot, replied, "I was burning in the fire, but I managed to jump out just in time. If I had stayed any longer, I would have turned to ashes." The bean nodded in sympathy. "I understand," she said. "I nearly met the same fate. If the old woman had noticed me, I would be boiling in that pan right now with the other beans. Luckily, I fell to the ground and escaped." The straw sighed sadly. "It seems we all barely escaped with our lives," it said. "I was one of many straws that the old woman threw into the fire to make it burn faster. Most of my friends are already gone, turned into smoke and flames. But I was fortunate enough to fall away from the fire." The three survivors felt a sense of relief, but also a strange happiness in meeting each other. They had all narrowly avoided a terrible fate, and now they were together. After a moment of silence, the coal asked, "What should we do now? We cannot stay here, or we might end up back in danger." The bean, who had always been a quick thinker, replied, "Since we have all been lucky enough to escape, I suggest we stick together. We are better off as friends than as enemies. Let's leave this place and travel to a faraway land where no one can harm us." The idea sounded good to the others. "Yes," said the straw, "we should leave right away, before the old woman notices us here." The coal agreed. "I like this plan. Together we can explore the world and find a safe place to live." And so, the bean, the coal, and the straw set off on their adventure. The morning sun was shining, and a gentle breeze was blowing as they made their way out of the small kitchen and into the wide world beyond. They were excited about the journey ahead, even though they had no idea where they were going. The trio walked slowly, chatting along the way. The bean was full of curiosity and kept asking questions. "What do you think we will find?" she wondered aloud. "Will we meet more friends along the way?" The coal, feeling proud of her bold escape from the fire, said, "Whatever we find, we must face it bravely. We have already survived great danger, so we can handle anything that comes our way." The straw, who was kind-hearted and a bit more cautious, added, "We must also be careful. The world can be unpredictable, and we don't want to get into trouble again." The bean, the coal, and the straw continued their journey, moving slowly but with hope in their hearts. They knew they were different from one another, but that did not matter. They were bound by their shared experience and the simple joy of being alive. After some time, they came across a small meadow filled with colorful flowers. The flowers swayed gently in the wind, and the air smelled sweet. The three friends stopped for a moment to rest and enjoy the view. The bean looked around, her small eyes shining with wonder. "This is beautiful," she said happily. "I have never seen such a lovely place." The coal agreed, feeling a bit warmer than before. "Yes, it is peaceful here," she said. "Maybe we could stay for a while." But the straw, always thinking ahead, reminded them, We must keep moving if we want to find a place where we can truly be safe. So after a short break, the three companions continued their journey. The bean felt more confident than ever, the coal felt braver, and the straw felt hopeful. They were now more than just survivors, they were friends, ready to face whatever came their way. As the sun began to set, the bean, the coal, and the straw found a soft patch of grass where they could rest for the night. They huddled close together, feeling the warmth of friendship. The stars began to twinkle above, and the three unlikely friends closed their eyes, dreaming of the adventures yet to come. Little did they know, challenges awaited them just around the corner. But for now, they were content, grateful for their newfound companionship, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. Before continuing to the next chapter, let's learn some new vocabulary appeared in the last chapter. The story ends here, but we will once again learn together some other new vocabulary related to the topic in the story. The first word to learn is village. Village refers to a small group of houses in the countryside. For example, the old woman lived in a small village near the forest. Next we have hearth. Hearth is the floor of a fireplace where the fire is made. For example, the old woman started a fire on her hearth to cook the beans. Another word is escape. Escape means to get away from danger. For example, the coal was lucky to escape from the burning fire. The fourth word is survive. Survive means to continue to live after facing danger. For example, the bean, the straw, and the coal managed to survive the kitchen. Now let's look at friendship. Friendship refers to a relationship between people who like each other. For example, the bean, the coal, and the straw formed a strong friendship. Moving on to adventure. Adventure is an exciting experience or journey. For example, the three friends set off on an adventure to find safety. The next word is danger. Danger is the possibility of harm or injury. For example, the bean wanted to avoid any more danger after escaping the kitchen. Now we have curious. Curious means eager to learn or know something. For example, the bean was curious about what they might find beyond the hills. Let's also discuss companion. Companion refers to a person or animal who travels with someone. For example, the straw became a loyal companion to the bean and the coal. Finally, we have lucky. Lucky means having good fortune. For example, the bean felt lucky to be alive and free. Chapter 2. The journey begins. The bean, the coal, and the straw felt cheerful as they continued their journey through the countryside. The morning sun was warm, and the fields were green and full of life. As they moved along the dirt path, they talked about the adventures that might lie ahead. The three friends were filled with hope, their fears behind them and their future bright with possibility. As the day passed, they walked through meadows, passed under tall trees, and even crossed small hills. The bean's curiosity was endless, and she constantly asked questions about the world around them. "What do you think lies beyond those hills?" she asked. The coal, feeling bold and brave, replied, "We will find out soon enough. No matter what we face, we will stick together." The straw, however, was more cautious. "Let's not rush," he said gently. "We need to be careful. The world is wide, and we must look out for each other." By midday, the three friends were feeling a bit tired from walking. Just as they were considering taking a rest, they came to a small brook. The water was clear and cool, gently flowing over the rocks, creating a soft, calming sound. The bean, the coal, and the straw stopped at the edge of the water, looking across to the other side. "Oh no," said the bean, frowning. "There is no bridge. How will we get to the other side?" The coal, trying to stay optimistic, said, "We have come so far together. We cannot let a little water stop us." The straw, who had a clever mind, suddenly had an idea. "Don't worry," he said confidently. "I will make a bridge for us. I will lie down across the brook, and you can walk on me to the other side." The bean and the coal were surprised by the straw's offer. "Are you sure?" asked the bean. "Yes," replied the straw. "It's the only way for us to cross safely. I am long and light, so I can float a bit. Just be careful when you step on me." With that, the straw stretched himself across the brook, lying flat from one bank to the other. He looked like a thin, yellow bridge, strong enough for his small companions. The coal was the first to step forward. "Here I go," she announced bravely. The coal took a deep breath and stepped onto the straw bridge. At first, everything seemed fine. The coal moved slowly, carefully placing one foot in front of the other. She was halfway across when she suddenly felt the rush of water beneath her. It was a strange sensation, and the sound of the bubbling brook made her nervous. "Oh no," the coal cried. "The water is so loud, I'm scared." The bean, still on the shore, tried to encourage her. "Don't be afraid, just keep moving forward." But the coal, feeling frightened, stood still in the middle of the straw bridge. Unfortunately, the coal's hot surface began to burn the straw. Smoke rose from beneath her, and the straw cried out, "Quick, move forward, or I will catch fire." But it was too late. The coal's heat caused the straw to burn. In a flash, the straw broke into two pieces and fell into the water below. The coal, unable to hold on, slipped off as well. As soon as the coal touched the water, there was a loud hissing sound. "Sssst," she cried, her fiery glow fading rapidly. She disappeared beneath the surface, her journey ending with a cloud of steam. The bean, still standing on the shore, watched in shock. "Oh no," she exclaimed. "My friends are gone." Despite her sadness, she could not help but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. "How silly," she chuckled. "A coal trying to cross a straw bridge." The bean laughed harder and harder, her small body shaking with each burst of laughter. The more she thought about the scene, the more she laughed. But then something unexpected happened. With each laugh, the bean felt a strange pressure building inside her. Suddenly, she heard a small crack. "Oh dear," she whispered to herself. "I think I'm breaking." Before she could stop herself, the bean burst open, right down the middle. Her laughter had caused her skin to split, and now she was in serious trouble. She lay helplessly on the ground, unable to move. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, a man came walking along the path. He was a tailor, dressed in simple clothes and carrying a small bag of tools. He was traveling in search of work, but when he saw the poor bean lying there, he felt a surge of compassion. "What happened to you, little bean?" the tailor asked kindly. The bean, struggling to speak, replied, "I laughed so hard that I burst open. Can you help me?" The tailor, who had a good heart, nodded. "Of course I will help you," he said. "Stay still. I have a needle and thread, and I will sew you back together." The bean lay very still as the tailor carefully threaded his needle. He used black thread, as that was all he had, and stitched the bean's skin back together. It was a neat job, and the bean was soon whole again, though she now had a black seam running down her side. "There you go," said the tailor, smiling. "You are as good as new." The bean thanked the kind tailor, feeling grateful for his help. "Thank you, good sir," she said politely. "You saved my life." The tailor tipped his hat and continued on his way, leaving the bean to rest by the side of the brook. As the bean watched the tailor walk away, she felt a mix of relief and sadness. She had survived, but her friends were gone. She was now marked forever by the black seam, a reminder of the laughter, the danger, and the kindness that had saved her. But the bean's heart remained hopeful. "Maybe," she thought, "I will find new friends on the road ahead." Now, let's take a break and learn some new words that appeared in the last chapter. The first word to learn is brook. Brook refers to a small stream of water. For example, the three friends reached a small brook they needed to cross. Next, we have bridge. Bridge is a structure built over water to allow crossing. For example, the straw offered to be a bridge for the others to cross the brook. Another word is careful. Careful means taking care to avoid mistakes or harm. For example, the bean was careful not to step too hard on the straw. The fourth word is brave. Brave means showing courage in the face of danger. For example, the coal tried to be brave as she stepped onto the straw. Now let's look at split. Split means to break into chapters. For example, the bean laughed so hard that she split in two. Moving on to compassion. Compassion is a feeling of sympathy for someone in need. For example, the tailor felt compassion for the bean and decided to help her. The next word is repair. Repair means to fix something that is broken. For example, the tailor repaired the bean with his needle and thread. Now we have hiss. Hiss means to make a sharp sound like the letters. For example, the coal made a loud hiss as it fell into the water. Let's also discuss steady. Steady means firm and not shaking or moving. For example, the bean tried to keep a steady balance on the straw bridge. Finally, we have seam. Seam is the line made where two chapters are sewn together. For example, the bean was left with a black seam after being sewn up. Chapter 3. The Tailor's Stitch. The bean sat alone by the brook, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. She was grateful that the tailor had come along and stitched her back together, but she missed her two friends, the coal and the straw, who had fallen into the water. The black seam on her side was a constant reminder of both the adventure and the loss she had experienced. Despite everything, the bean remained hopeful. "I am still alive," she said to herself. "And who knows, maybe this black seam will make me special." The day was warm, and the sun shone brightly over the gentle brook. The bean decided it was time to continue her journey. With her small size and light body, she made her way carefully along the path, avoiding any sharp stones or steep drops that could split her again. She did not want to risk breaking a chapter, not after the tailor had done such a kind job of sewing her back together. As she moved along the path, the bean noticed that the world was full of life and color. The flowers along the roadside were in full bloom, and butterflies danced in the air. Birds sang cheerful songs from the branches of the trees, and the bean felt a little better with each step she took. "I may be small, but I am still chapter of this beautiful world," she thought. After some time, the bean came to a small village. The people were busy going about their daily chores. Some were washing clothes by a well, others were selling fresh vegetables in the marketplace, and children were playing in the street. The bean watched all of this with wide eyes, amazed by the activity and energy around her. "I wonder if I could make friends here," the bean thought. Everyone seemed so happy. As she continued through the village, she saw a small group of beans lying on a wooden table outside a market stall. They looked just like her, except they did not have a black seam. Curious and hopeful, the bean approached them. "Hello," she called out. The beans on the table turned to look at her, surprised to see a bean walking alone along the street. "Hello there," one of them replied. "Who are you and where did you come from?" The bean explained her story, telling them about the old woman's kitchen, the coal and straw, the accident at the brook, and how the tailor had sewn her back together. The other beans listened closely, fascinated by the tale. "You have been on quite an adventure," one of the beans exclaimed. "We have never left this table before. We were harvested from the field and brought here to be sold." The bean felt a mix of pride and sadness. "Yes, it has been a long journey," she admitted. "But I have learned a lot along the way. I have learned the value of friendship, courage, and kindness. And I am grateful to still be here, even with this black seam." One of the beans looked at her with admiration. "Your black seam makes you unique," he said kindly. "It shows that you have survived something difficult and that you are strong. You should be proud of it." The bean felt a warmth in her heart. She had never thought of her seam that way before. "Thank you," she said with a smile. "I never thought of it as a mark of strength, but maybe you're right." The other beans nodded in agreement. "We are glad to meet you," one of them said. "You are welcome to stay with us if you like." The bean felt a wave of happiness. She had found new friends, and they accepted her just as she was. "I would like that very much," she replied. "It's nice to be among friends again." As the days passed, the bean settled into her new life in the village. She stayed with the other beans, sharing stories of her journey and listening to their tales from the fields. The people in the village soon noticed the special bean with the black seam, and she became known as the Lucky Bean because of her remarkable survival. One day, the tailor who had saved the bean happened to pass through the village. He was surprised to see the bean on the table among the others. "Well, if it isn't my old friend," he exclaimed, smiling warmly. The bean was overjoyed to see the tailor again. "You saved my life," she said gratefully. "Without your needle and thread, I would not have made it this far." The tailor laughed kindly. "It was the least I could do," he said. "You are a brave little bean, and you deserved a second chance." The bean felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you again," she said. "I will always remember your kindness." The tailor patted the bean gently and continued on his way, feeling happy that he had made a difference in the small bean's life. The bean remained in the village, surrounded by her new friends. She often thought of the coal and the straw and the lessons she had learned from their journey together. But instead of feeling sad, she felt grateful for the adventure and for the chance to live on. The black seam on her side became a symbol of strength and hope, reminding everyone in the village that even the smallest among them could have a story worth telling. The bean's tail spread far and wide, and soon she was known as a symbol of courage and resilience. And so, the bean's journey came to a peaceful end. She had found a home, new friends, and a sense of belonging. She may have been marked by her adventure, but she wore that mark proudly, knowing that it made her special. The bean's heart was full of gratitude, not just for the tailor's stitch, but for the kindness, courage, and friendship she had found along the way. She was no longer just a small bean in a big world. She was a brave survivor with a story to tell. It's the end of the story. We will once again learn together some other new vocabulary in the story. The first word to learn is seamstress. Seamstress refers to a person who sews things together, usually clothes. For example, the bean thought of the kind tailor as a helpful seamstress. Next, we have belonging. Belonging is the feeling of being chapter of a group or place. For example, the bean found a sense of belonging among the other beans. Another word is stitch. Stitch is a loop of thread used to hold pieces of fabric together. For example, the tailor used small stitches to sew the bean back together. The fourth word is marketplace. Marketplace is an open area where people sell goods. For example, the bean arrived at a busy marketplace full of people. Now let's look at admire. Admire means to look at something with pleasure. For example, the other beans admired the brave bean for her story of survival. Moving on to kindness. Kindness refers to being friendly and helpful to others. For example, the tailor's kindness saved the bean from certain danger. The next word is symbol. Symbol is a sign that represents something. For example, the black seam became a symbol of the bean's strength and survival. Now we have grateful. Grateful means feeling thankful for something good that happened. For example, the bean was grateful to the tailor for sewing her back together. Let's also discuss courage. Courage is the ability to face fear or difficulty. For example, the bean showed courage as she continued her journey alone. Finally, we have hopeful. Hopeful means feeling or showing hope. For example, the bean remained hopeful that she would find happiness again.